Aum Sairam. Hara Hara Shankara, Jaya Jaya Shankara. Episode 30. Shri Mahaswami, the Sage with Eyes of Light, the Diary of a Seeker of Truth, Dr.Serge Demetrian. Dear devotees, now we shall listen to the second section of Part 2 of this divine book under the subtitle The Lotus Pond. I am Shiva. One night, a few days ago, Sri Mahaswami was staying in the room adjacent to his usual room where he sleeps, towards the south. The upper half of the wall had been cut and it had been replaced by a folding mat. When this is raised up, Sri Mahaswami appears as in a store window and the visitors pass by in front of him. This time a quiet group of some 30 to 40 persons, mostly men, stood before him and seemed to be waiting for something. All of a sudden, Swamiji started uttering words in English, conveying the meaning as follows. Remember always, Shivoham. I am Shiva. God exists in us, in men, in every one of us. The human being starts as a cell which metamorphoses in an embryo. In this way, a child is born. He transforms into an adult that eventually becomes an old man. After his death, nothing is left from that human being. However, the base on which the man appears develops and is obliterated. The foundation on which he carries on his existence, the force from where he draws his life is God, Shiva. Think always that you are Shiva. Repeat always, I am Shiva, Shivoham. Think of him as an ocean of light made up by the glitter of all the stars assembled in one point. We all stood thoughtful a while, when a listener pointed his finger on the sky towards south and exclaimed, Look up there! The entire group, myself included, turned our eyes towards the sky. An extraordinary luminous shooting star, a quite large white shaft, was falling through the sky. Its shimmer illuminated the sparse clouds. It had started from the southern side and crossed slowly the night sky and then disappeared on the eastern side of the lotus pond. It was as if the starry vault was agreeing with the words of Sri Mahaswami by declaring itself ready to come down and assemble in a single point of brilliant light. While the listeners were commenting among themselves about this apparition, Sri Mahaswami, with a perfect ingenuity, was asking questions. Where did the meteor appear? What was its precise trajectory? As if he did not know all this. I could not remember anybody until then to better play the role of an ingenious person. We had all seen the shooting star, and comments came from all sides. Some affirmed that the asteroid came at the order of Sri Mahaswami, that it was confirming the words of Ishvara with human form. Who else could have had the celestial body at his command? Others considered that Sri Mahaswami, knowing the meteor was to fall, had given his discourse just at that moment, a happening that was as marvelous as the first one. Indeed, this would have meant that Sri Mahaswami, knowing beforehand the timetable of all celestial bodies, had placed his discourse exactly when a shooting star was about to fall. Finally, others among the people who took part in the discussion insisted that the event had happened by chance and there was no conscious intention. Sri Mahaswami listened in silence. He did not accept or reject any of these propositions. He considered maybe that each argument matched a different level of understanding, or what I was thinking, he was far above all the levels of ordinary understanding. Why are we unable to recognize Ishvara even when he moves among us? How is it that we are discussing with him as if he was an ordinary man, somewhat more talented, but that is all? Strange. This is also a marvel, as if Ishvara reveals himself only to whom he wants. He chooses his man by a criterion known only to him. He prepares him by purifying his heart, by widening his mind, by clarifying his senses. When he is sure that all the forces of this person are directed towards the good, and only then carefully Ishvara uncovers his own nature. In order to make himself known to this one and to other humans, he bestows, at least from time to time, on this human being, which is in fact his own creation, the unity with himself, that is, the knowledge of himself. Karveti Nagar, Thursday, 16th September 1971. Pradosha Kala Puja. This morning I woke up after a good rest, the fact being that it is so rare with me that it takes on the aspect of a memorable event. I happily meditated for some time and then read with pleasure some pages from Vishnu Sahasranama. Indeed, I had stopped myself from learning the entire book by heart. I then left my abode for the hermitage of Sri Mahaswami as if drawn by a string. From the mill one had to walk 300 meters on an almost straight road. I had just started when a dense spiritual atmosphere charged with presence came to meet me. At my arrival, I understood the reason of this good beginning of the day. Sri Mahaswami alone sat meditating, facing east on his favorite stone, the last stair of the reservoir. He was a silent flame, an orange ruby whose brilliance was turned towards the interior, a large burning charcoal controlling its reddish order, a sun concealing its rays in order not to blind us. I dipped my feet in the reservoir on the northern side, furthest from the hermitage. Then I washed the mouth lightly and sprinkled 6 times a few drops of water on my head. These were Hindu purification procedures. Then I went to the southern side and came nearer to Sri Mahaswami. Under a corner of his cloth, there appeared half of his left foot with the 5 rose pearls of the toes. After the prostration, I remained standing at some 5 meters on his right, that is facing north, and I easily plunged inside for meditation. After about 30 minutes, he stands up and heads towards the tall peepal tree behind the hermitage. He effortlessly climbs onto the platform, which encircles its base, and sits in order to meditate among the 3 small statues. Vinayaka, Hanuman, and 2 serpents shaped in an 8 form in bas relief on a granite slab. Sri Mahaswami places himself in such a way that from down below I could clearly see his face. The Purusha without fear and death, and the Kundalini appear very soon, the first one in the heart and the second one in the center of the spine in its lower half, Mooladhara. However, Swamiji stops me from bringing the last one too high. Surely my body could not have stood the double presence. I accept on the spot this curtailment with the attitude of a model child. He better knows what is proper for me. After some time, he came down the platform and strode straight towards me. I was so much surprised that I did not have the idea that I should stand up with respect for him. Only later I realized that he wanted to look at me at close quarters. All the rest of the morning, back at the mill, I was bathed in a luminous feeling of well-being. But Let us not trust these mental and physical excitations. Even if they be positive, one should move beyond. In the afternoon, I lost a rare opportunity to become a guru myself. V.S. Narasimlu, my friend who is a primary school teacher, came to see me towards 5 p.m. at the mill and started talking about his interior life. I listened attentively to him and offered some counsels, perhaps with too much assurance. At my surprise, in a sudden outburst, he prostrated in front of me and on the spot he declared himself my disciple. One quickly becomes enthused in this country. I hardly had a few seconds to decide. Accepting I could have rendered him some aid, he is a faithful friend. But such a responsibility would soon become too heavy. I told him that I am myself a disciple, meaning by this that I was not able to accept such an obligation without the permission of my master. He could address directly Sri Mahaswami as he was the best one to properly guide him. Convinced as I was of being almost nothing before Sri Mahaswami, I was enough persuasive towards my friend. He did not come again with such a request. I do not know if he has listened to my advice and if he appeared before Sri Mahaswami. By 6:15 p.m. I reached the lotus pond and was somehow this time directed to stop on the northern side at some 10 meters from Sri Mahaswami on the third step of the flight of stairs. Sri Mahaswami, standing on the last step, was talking with some visitors. Round him were waiting the materials for the puja. As soon as I arrived, he immediately accepted my prostration, sat down and started the service. I felt that I had to stand at his back. Today, Dwadasi, is the day of the Pradosha Kala Puja, so favorable for the worship of Shiva. Mahaswami was in a severe mood. From the beginning, his eyeballs had become gaping black holes and remained like this all through the office, while the little flame of the oil night lamp flickered. His features were cruel. One could distinguish neither nose nor mouth, an apocalyptic aspect. Strange, I did not feel any fear. On the contrary, I was even more convinced that he is God, that he is Shiva, showing himself at that moment as the destroyer. Sri Mahaswami stretched his hands and commenced straight away the movements of salute, of calling, of discussion. For some time I was the subject of the debate. Was I worthy of some of his attention? Yes, decided Sri Mahaswami. Instantly he encircled me with joined hands, the fingers covered with light. Then he searched by repeated movements as if among the branches of a tree for a ripe fruit and plucked it. In fact, he picked me from the interior of my physical body and put me, a little fluffy ball of silk like a one-day spring chicken, near him. He kept me there during the entire office. I had totally forgotten the old structure of a dead tree, the old body at several meters distance behind Sri Mahaswami, frozen in the darkness on the side of the pond. How was it possible that it could stand without slipping into the lake? The real I felt so good among the coconut shells which were full of the materials necessary for the puja. Vibhuti, kumkum, rice. Nearby was a little basket woven of bamboo fibers with white smelling, freshly picked flowers inside. I had become myself an item for the puja of Sri Mahaswami. Therefore, when my turn came, he took me along with some petals in the palm of his hands, which he stretched out towards the water. I felt that I should do something. I cut myself free of every lingering thought and nestled in his palms. He seemed to have waited for this. With a quick movement, he poured me towards the east. I fell down into the bottom of a precipice. For a very short time only the I feeling was there, alone, empty, divested of everything that could be considered as interior or exterior. Then everything perished. For how long is possible to say? What reappeared was a faint light in a known place, my old heart. That is, I had been sent back to revitalize the old structure of the dead tree that waited, frozen, at 10 meters distance behind. It slowly started moving while the mind, overwhelmed with wonder, heard effortlessly resounding on its stage, Shivoham, Shivoham, I am Shiva, I am Shiva. Sri Mahaswami had finished the service, but I was too numb to greet him. I simply followed him by sight until he entered his hut. Then only I started moving, walking carefully in a slow pradakshina round the hermitage. Having come back to the front of the half-open door, I saw him seated on his bed, facing south as if waiting for me. Nobody was there. I could prostrate properly before the threshold, and I stood for a long time kneeling. I was slightly trembling and my eyes were moist. In my mind, I uttered these words, You are God. I have recognized you. Cut the knot of the heart. I beseech you. Destroy the 5 sheaths. I finished with eyes full of tears. Sri Mahaswami surely knew what I was thinking. He always knows. He remained as if dreaming. From his body of matte gold there emanated a luminous ether hardly visible, which spread out in the room and rendered translucent all the objects, the bed, his cloth, his staff leaning on the waved wall, the kamandalu resting on a makeshift table, a hardboard box covered with an orange towel, the 3 units shelf with some stacks of change of clothes, and the thin blankets of the bedding, the accessories for eating, everything made out of wood, plate, bowl, spoon, finally his wooden paduka on the well-beaten earth floor. I saw him smiling in that fine way of his. He got up and stood near his bed, the right hand held in abhaya towards me. I thought I heard in my heart, Go and be happy. I painfully left the holy hut. While remembering the trifles that kept me busy day by day, instead of thinking every moment of him, there arose a certain feeling of regret and disgust. What to do other than try, as much as I am capable of, to follow the path towards Ishvara. Today, 6 months ago, in an afternoon, I came to this place for 2 or 3 days, and since then I had not left for more than 10 days in all. Devotees, we shall continue to listen to the lotus pond in the coming episode, bowing at the holy feet of the Gurus. Aum Sairam. Hara Hara Shankara, Jaya Jaya Shankara.